there are a lot of people out there putting a lot of things online that are going to create not just unnecessary struggle, it's going to delay your blessing of being in the relationship that you want. A lot of what you've been taught, especially online, is incomplete at best and misleading at worst. You consume something, it sounds empowering, it gives you a sense of like you're in control, but then you go and apply it and it doesn't work. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Love Chat with the Love Twins. It's Michelle here with you today, and I'm so happy that you're here today. I hope that if you are driving, you are able to listen in. If you are multitasking, I invite you to stop doing that because this topic that we're going to talk about today, honestly, it's one that needs to be talked about, especially right now. So I'm talking specifically to the woman she knows she likes to achieve results in her life, and maybe that's you, and you feel like you're smart. You feel like you've got a lot of self-awareness going on. You've done a lot of internal work. You've created a lot of great results in your life. And yet when it comes to dating, you still feel like there's some inconsistency there. Maybe you feel some confusion in that area. Or you might even have the experience that it's never quite turns out the way you want it to. It looks like it's going in the direction you want, and then it doesn't turn out. I want you to know that if you fall into any of those, there is a reason for that. And it's not because there's something wrong with you. And it's not even in some cases that you're doing anything wrong. What it is that somewhere along the line, a lot of what you've been taught, especially online, is incomplete at best and misleading at worst. There's a lot of noise out there right now. And today, I want to break down and break out of that noise in a very real way for you. This call is not about just giving you more content for the sake of giving you content. This is something that I really, like I said, if you're doing something else, bring your attention here and it doesn't work so that you can get everything there is for you to get because you showed up. So let's show up fully. Now, there is a lot of content out there that is content for content's sake, but this is not one of those moments. So you can actually understand why you can be, it looks like you're doing all the right things, taking all the right steps, and still not getting the results you want in love. We've got to go deep into that and look at that and not question yourself, but question, why is that happening? So if you've ever felt like that, like I'm doing all the right things, but for whatever reason, it's not giving me the result I want, you can type yes in the chat. Now, maybe you started to see some results and you can put, instead of yes, you can put I'm listening because you're starting to see some results. And it's because you have been, some of you who are here have worked with us before, and you're starting to see those results and you want to get closer to the ultimate result of being in an incredible relationship with a man who you feel is your partner, who you feel you are accepted and loved by, who you know you have a soft place to land when things get difficult and challenging in the world, which is all around us right now. All right, so we're going to start right here. Like, why am I doing things, but they're not landing? Thank you for putting your comments in the chat. We do read them all. Now, here's what I'm going to say. And I want to start by saying that I'm not here to throw shade at anybody. I'm not here to criticize anybody. I am here to shine light on something because so much of what's out there. I was telling my husband yesterday, he showed me something, a reel or a video. And the first question I asked myself, is that real? And I asked him, is that real? And I said, you know what? I hate that I have to be asking that all the time now. How many of you feel that? Like there's so much stuff out there that's being altered, filtered, curated. And you're not even really sure what you should be watching, what you should be listening to, what you should be believing. If that's the case for you, put SM for social media, not for something else, SM for social media, so that I know that you know what I'm talking about. Because if you found yourself asking yourself, is that real? Or scrolling down to see if it's AI generated. And look, AI has its benefits, but I'm telling you, there are a lot of people out there putting a lot of things online that are going to create not just heartbreak, not just unnecessary struggle. It's going to delay your blessing of being in the relationship that you want, right? So I see people are putting yes, you totally get what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. And again, no shade. I'm just telling you the truth. This is Tell the Truth Tuesday here on Love Chat. Most of the dating advice that you're getting online is built for speed. It's built for entertainment. It's built to get followers and reactions and create a shock value so it can go viral. And it's not real life application to get you the results that you want. It's optimized for quick hits. It's optimized for a strong opinion that may make you go, wow. And you got a lot of simple rules out there because that's what gets attention. But here's the issue with that. Real relationships do not operate in sound bites, in a 60-second reel. That's not how relationships work. They don't operate in a set of rules. always do this, never do that. Because every dynamic, every relationship dynamic has a context to it. And when you remove the context, you remove accuracy. What do I mean by that? If someone doesn't know the ins and outs, I've heard so many over the 17 years that I've done specifically love coaching with Gladys, and combined 30 years of coaching in performance in every area of life that you can think of. I've heard a lot of stories. And even though the stories may sound familiar, the context of what the person is dealing with and their specific issue that they've been trying to get out of or trying to understand, or the things that happened to them, the way that it happened to them, the circumstances that were happening when it was happening to them, they are unique. And when you remove that context, you remove the accuracy. And then it's just a soundbite. I really want you to get this. And I'm going to add something that a lot of people are missing completely when they talk about behaviors in dating. Okay, most advice on dating, and I know because my clients send it to me, and they're like, oh, look, this person says what you said the other day. I've been doing this for a really long time. I didn't look it up somewhere. It's years and years of studying. Gladys, the same thing, years and years of going through certifications, of education and experience. But most of what you're seeing online focuses on a behavioral snapshot, what someone did or didn't do in a particular moment. But here's the thing, in a real relationship, what actually determines the outcome of something is not a particular moment. It's the pattern across time under the emotional stress. It's the skills that these people bring with them. It's the past that either has or hasn't been healed. It's what they know to do with what they've got and what they know to do with what they had. Are they still holding on, or have they let go? How much have they let go? Did they just put a positive spin on it, or is it truly healed? So here's something else. One good date doesn't equal emotional maturity or emotional availability. A man who tells you everything about his life right away, that's not emotional maturity. That's actually the opposite of it. Because emotional maturity is also the self-awareness to know how much I share with you, not because I'm hiding something, but because have we developed enough trust? Do I know you enough, and have we spent enough time together, and do I have enough real emotional intimacy to share with you something that's very private? When somebody is just out there telling you all their stuff, either they are trying to build an emotional bond that doesn't really exist so that they can see, get in there sooner, or they haven't healed their stuff, their past. So telling everything up front, that's not emotional maturity. One good date doesn't mean emotional availability. One thoughtful text, or even two thoughtful texts, does not mean this is someone who's going to show up consistently. One vulnerable conversation doesn't mean that they have relational capacity. What actually matters is how someone behaves when things are unclear, uncertain, inconvenient, or activating. That is what matters. And you're not going to find that out while you're chatting online or chatting in a text, or even on the first few conversations or the first 4 or 5 dates. But that's what's required to get to really know somebody, is to spend time with them, because that's where truth starts showing up. And this is where a lot of women get unintentionally misled, not because they're ignoring red flags, but because they're interpreting these isolated moments based on something they saw online, or some, reel they saw, or some podcast they heard. And it's an isolated moment that doesn't allow them to observe the relational pattern that's actually happening. So then what ends up happening is you consume something, it sounds empowering, it gives you a sense of like you're in control, but then you go and apply it and it doesn't work, or the results that you get are very short-lived. And now what happens after that is you start second guessing. And you're not second guessing yourself later, you're second guessing yourself real time. This person's either on the phone with you, they're on a video chat with you, or they're in front of you, and you start second guessing yourself in real time because you've layered too many external voices on top of your true knowledge, your true wisdom. So let me ask you something honestly. Have you ever had a moment with a man, and instead of responding naturally, like what's natural to say, you paused and you had this split second where you thought, what's the right way to handle this? Instead of what's real, what's right? That's it right there. And this is where disconnection starts happening, because the real you is no longer there. Who's showing up is the one who manages, and the one who makes sure that you don't make a mistake, and you become very articulate, and you become very precise and exact. And then you start going for, what did I see on this thing? Instead of what you know, what you've learned, what you actually are embodying right now. So a lot of the advice that's circulating out there right now, especially, and no hate against influencers, but some of these people, they know how to play with the algorithm, and they haven't actually done the deep work in this space. They actually don't have the credentials or credibility. I'm not talking about certificate on the wall. I'm talking about real relationships that they've been able to create through their work, real breakthroughs, families coming together, financial abundance breakthroughs happening inside of the work they're doing to create a deeper relationship with themselves that allows them to be able to share that. Because me having an experience is one thing, but me being able to show you how to duplicate it is a completely different thing. So when you're listening to someone who's an influencer and other content creators is what they're being called, you're listening to someone who's is rooted in image and controlling a narrative rather than someone who is rooted in emotional intelligence and expertise. It's not the same thing. So you might hear things like, oh, just act like you don't care, keep him guessing, you need to have the upper hand, you want to be the one he chooses, be assertive so he thinks you're confident, stay detached so you don't get hurt. You're hearing these things out there. Be a femme fatale, which actually means someone who kills or ends life. And although it may land and sound empowering, it only sounds empowering because it lands like protection or control, but it's not going to work out in the long run. It's not. And I'm saying it's just not. It's going to be a waste of your time and a waste of your effort to do things that someone who isn't really an expert in something is telling you because they've got a nice background or they've got a cool thing that they say, or they've got 2.5 million followers. That doesn't make you an expert. That makes you popular, and it makes you somebody who either has a lot of people following you or can buy a lot of people following you. So I don't want you to get played, and neither does Gladys. And that's why we're having this conversation, because I'm hearing a lot of things that it's just like, no, you do that with a high quality man, he's going to turn around and go the other way. They don't have time for games, and they don't have time for confusion. They want somebody who's clear about who they are, and they want to know that the person that they're having a conversation with is a real person, not somebody who is taking up all these little sound bites and trying to sound real. You want to go for truth versus guardedness. Go for truth versus a sound bite. Because what happens is when you're going for these little tips and tricks, and this is why we do give very clear steps to take. But we don't give you tips and tricks, because what tips and tricks do is, instead of being present in the interaction, when you go into that, what's the right thing to do, instead of what's the thing I know, like the real me to do, because you've not just learned it or heard it, but you're actually learned how to embody it. What happens when you're in that interaction is you're no longer present, because now you're managing how you come across, how you sound, how you look. You're editing yourself, you're filtering yourself, and you're thinking 2 steps ahead to try and figure out where this is going, which is strategizing, which kind of creates disconnection. And so the problem with that is that you can't build real connection from a version of you that's being filtered. You just can't, because connection requires honesty, and it requires emotional availability on your part. It requires the courage to be who you really are. And it also requires having to know how to respond in particular situations, but not perform. There's a difference between knowing what to do and responding appropriately and performing and acting the way you think is the right thing to do. So let me give you a distinction that's going to really change how you see this. Protection keeps you from getting hurt, but it also keeps you from being fully seen. When you got so much protection from not just outside of you, but trying to protect yourself from doing the wrong thing, saying the wrong thing, coming across a certain way, it may keep you from getting hurt, but it's also going to keep you from being seen and known and really creating a solid something to build on that's going to last beyond 1 or 2 dates. And this is so important, because if you're not somebody who allows yourself to be truly seen, to be truly gotten, like, I know who you are, if the guy you're on a date can't really see you, then he can't fall in love with you. He can't fall in love with you. He's got to be able to see you, and he's got to be able to see that there's some realness in there, that it's not just some scripted response. This is why when we're coaching our ladies on what to say on a date or in response to a text, it's not just the words, it's the intention behind it. It's the intention behind what you're saying. If the intention is trying to get it right, that's going to come across. And if the intention is trying to correct them, that's going to come across. And if the intention is to let him know that you appreciate what he said and you may see it in a different view, that will also come across. So it's not just the words that you say. All right. So if you're getting that, it's very important for you to listen, to have the right voices whispering in your ear so you can truly be seen. Then type the word listen in the chat, so I know that you're listening to this. Now, let's go ahead and talk about something, switching just a same topic, but a different context in that topic is, let's talk about what creates this in your dating life. So a lot of women start to feel like they're stuck in this stage because you meet somebody, there's an interest. You even feel like there's chemistry, you feel attraction, but there's something that's happening in the dynamic where the connection isn't deep. It feels like it's very surface level. No matter how, what you say or what you ask, it's very much on the surface, and then eventually it starts to fizzle out and fade, or it becomes inconsistent. You know, the one day he's there and you're having a lot of interaction, and then you feel like there's some pulling away, or you feel like pulling away, and you're left wondering what happened. Like, what happened? Everything seemed like it was going, you know, in the right direction. Consider that you were relating to this person through a layer of strategy instead of coming directly from yourself, like relating to them as yourself. And what he was responding to initially was that layer, that protective layer, not you. And the protective layer doesn't always look like you're defensive. The protective layer looks like you're not available. I was talking to a young lady the other day, and I was like, are you ever in one place? Every time I talk to her for a coaching session, she's at an appointment, on her way to an appointment, leaving an appointment. She's in the car, she's driving, she's taking care of, you know, her daughter's child. Is that she's never still. That energy is unavailable energy. And it's not just unavailable to someone else. There's something here that's keeping her moving. Now you might say, oh, maybe she just has an active life. That's what I mean by the importance of the context. Having talked to her, having coached her, having seen what's going on in the background, I can tell her this is a layer of unavailability. And in that coaching session, she touched on what it is that she is avoiding feeling that keeps her moving. She was not going to get that watching a reel, or even, you know, ChatGPT is great for a lot of things, but ChatGPT is going to answer based on what you're asking. And if you have a blind spot, you don't know what to ask. You can't ask from a blind spot. You don't even know that it's there. If you have that whether it's unavailability or defensiveness, or it's, you know, neediness, attachment, whatever that is, they're responding to whatever that layer is. And that's when you start to feel the disconnection, because there was already disconnection to begin with. So he responds to what's being presented, and then at some point there's just so much depth, and vice versa, and then that's when things start fading out. So even if he was interested, and this is what's important, even if he was truly interested, if what's showing up is some version of you, some filtered version of you, there's not enough realness there. And I'm talking about high quality guys, high caliber men, high value men. They know who they are, they know what they're worth, and they know what they want. If he senses that there's not enough realness in the dynamic for it to actually build into something that's real and stable, he's out. He's out, because that real connection is built on being very clear about things, about who you are, about what you want, what you desire, what you value, being consistent in the way that you show up. And it's also about emotional safety, which isn't something that we think men need, but they need it too, just as much as we do, because it takes just as much, if not more, vulnerability, because we are actually encouraged to be vulnerable unless we grew up in an environment that's not. But for the most part, in general, women are, it's acceptable for us to be vulnerable. Maybe not so much in the workplace, but for sure in our private lives. Well, for men, neither. So if he doesn't feel emotionally safe enough because who's in front of him and doesn't feel real enough for him to open up, he's not going to. He's not going to, because it doesn't feel emotionally safe enough. So it's built on clarity, consistency, emotional safety. It's not built on guessing games. It's not built on power plays. It's not built on saying the right thing. And here's the piece I really want you to get. High quality men, the men who are actually ready for a relationship, do not respond to games. They don't respond well to games. They pick up on it like that. Men are very perceptive. And if he feels like he's being played, he's out. He's got other choices, just like you do. But your choices are not the choices you want. Listen to what I'm saying. You got to look and see, where is that layer of protection that's keeping a real high quality man from getting to know me? I thought I was being open. I thought I was doing all the right things, but if it's not going any deeper, there is a layer of protection there. And so they may engage with you for a short amount of time, but they don't really build on it, because it's just, there's no foundation there. If you're using strategy and you're using sound bites and blurbs and reels, 60-second footage to create attraction, you may get attention, but it won't go very deep and it won't go very far. And that's why it feels like something is missing. That's why it feels like something's missing. So this is where a real coach is completely different. Real coaching doesn't give you more things to memorize. And it doesn't turn you into someone who's constantly trying to get things right. It actually removes that layer and it brings you back to your awareness, the one that got shut off when whatever it was that happened, when you were 6 or 8 or 13. It brings you back to your discernment because you can start trusting yourself again and you can trust your intuition and you can trust what you know in an embodied way. And real coaching also brings you back to your ability to read what's actually happening versus ignoring what's in front of you or turning what's in front of you into some fantasy version of something just so that you don't have to be home alone on a Saturday night. Here's what I encourage you to do. Instead of asking, what should I do? Ask a better question. Ask, what am I seeing, as in the pattern that's showing up? And what does that mean? Where is it coming from? And that alone, just shifting the question, and this is another thing a good coach does. A good coach is going to ask you great questions and is going to ask you to ask yourself great questions because that's how a blind spot gets uncovered. Not with more information, with looking in the right place and asking the right question. So why does that shift everything? Asking yourself, like, not what should I do, but what am I seeing? What's that pattern? What's running it? What's behind it? Why that starts to shift everything is because now you're not reacting. You're actually getting clear. And when you are making choices from clarity instead of confusion, you stop getting pulled into things that are not aligned. And you naturally start creating connection that actually goes somewhere. It goes somewhere deep. It goes to where you want it to go because you're clear on that. So I want you to think about the last few experiences, dating experiences, relationship experiences that you've had, and ask yourself and answer this honestly. Was I actually being me, or was I following something I thought I needed to do? Was I really being me, or was I saying what I thought they wanted to hear? Was I really being myself, or was I trying to get them to see me in a particular way? Just notice the answer to that question. And I say notice because I really want you to notice it and not judge yourself about anything, this or anything else. It's about seeing the patterns clearly enough that you can actually now do something with it, that you can see it so clear that you may not know how to break through it, but you actually see it. And now you can get on a love breakthrough call with one of our coaches and say, look, this is what I saw when I asked myself this. This is a pattern that keeps showing up. No matter how many times I say I'm not going to do this, I end up doing this. Or no matter where I date, I've changed platforms, I've changed my profile, hired a matchmaker, and nothing's shifting. And this love breakthrough call, by the way, is for those of you who are not in our programs or those of you who've never had the call before, because if you had the call before, you'd only schedule a call if you're actually ready to take the next step. And by next step, I mean you're actually willing to do something to transform this, not just get more information. That's not what a love breakthrough call is. It's not about getting more information. It's about getting clear so you know what the next step to take is. Because that's what we're talking about tonight. This isn't something you fix with another video or another love chat. This is something that requires you to look at yourself and your patterns. And what happens on that love breakthrough call is we're going to help you look at, how you've been approaching dating, where you've been overriding your own instincts, and why is that happening? What's behind that? And also, we're going to help you to see why you keep ending up with the same type of dynamics, or as I call it, insert man syndrome. Different man, different body, different nationality, different age, same situation, same outcome. And more importantly, it's going to help you, this love breakthrough call is going to help you get clear on what actually needs to shift for you. Not a theory, not a generalization, but what needs to shift in your real life. So you can stop guessing, so you can stop overthinking, and so you could stop trying to piece this together on your own. Because the truth is, if you knew what to do and you could actually see what was at the bottom of it, you would have done it already. So it's not about trying something else on top of what's hidden in the blind spot. It's about getting to the blind spot and then what's underneath that, so that now you get actual guidance on what the step that's going to make a difference actually is for you. And you get to start moving with clarity. And when you move with clarity, you move with momentum. So if you're serious about your love life and you want 2026 to look different than every other year before, go ahead and book the love breakthrough call. We have the link there in the chat for you. Because here's the thing, at a certain point, more information isn't the answer. What's the answer is getting precise access to what's really in the way. And then precise steps on how to get it out of the way and what to do after that. Those are the steps. And it's not hard. You just have to know where to go and you got to know what to do, but not from a general sense, from what's really going on in your real life. All right. So go ahead and book your love breakthrough call. And before we wrap today, I just want to say I really appreciate that you allowed me to contribute to today beyond the soundbite. I really am standing in and trusting that what I said today resonated with you. And again, I'm not talking bad about anybody. I'm just inviting you to look deeper than what you've been looking at, so you can, and I'm talking about specifically online, and some people have some really great content out there, but know this, it's got to go deeper than a soundbite to create a lifelong love. All right. So if what you heard here today resonated, please subscribe to our channel, follow us, comment, share with other people. We want to know exactly what landed with you, because the more conversations we have like this, the less women stay stuck following advice that was never designed to work in the first place. And that's part of our mission. All right. So I'll see you, or Gladys will see you next week on the next Love Chat. And until our hearts meet again, always remember that you are loved. Goodbye for now.